Welcome everyone to this top 11 Amstrad CPC tennis games, and we start off with Passing Shot, brought to us by Sega in 1988 on the arcade and ported to many of the home systems, including the Amstrad of course in 1989. Licensed to Mirrorsoft conversion by Tech-Teak Software, ImageWorks behest. And it's not a bad conversion of the original arcade. It was quite an average tennis game back in the day. It's got sorts of nice graphics, colours are quite nice. Bit simple drawing, I guess. You can enter your name there. Only, 4 levels to play. You're playing the final of things. And here we go, where, yes, it goes into a sort of bird's eye view version of tennis, which is quite off-putting for the first time you play it, considering it starts off in this traditional sort of perspective for a tennis game. Bang, off you go with the serve, and then it switches. Clever thing to do, really, quite a nice idea, but unfortunately the ball perspective is a little out sometimes. It's difficult to sort of set your shot up. You can get a variety of shots by pressing in different directions on the controller, but it all runs a little bit too slow for me. Bit difficult to sort of judge where things are going. The collision detection is a bit off here and there, and I could have really liked a little bit more colour going on in actual gameplay. It's not bad, but it certainly doesn't reach the heights of some of the other tennis games on the Amstrad, and therefore it gets into number 11. Getting the number 10 spot is L'Oreal's Pro Tennis, sometimes known as Tennis 3D in certain regions, but I've always known it as Pro Tennis. And there are so many different games, tennis games on the Amstrad that use the name Pro Tennis or Professional Tennis. It gets a bit confusing, but this is probably the worst of the games that use the word Pro Tennis. It's got some interesting options here. It actually has the same sort of gameplay setup as another game called Match Point, I believe. You can select your player level here. You can even set a demo, which is quite nice. Hard court, a glass court, that'd be good. A grass court, a clay court, and a different mode, automatic and manual mode. That means basically you don't have to hit anything. In the automatic mode you literally just have to run into the ball and it will strike back. It's very simple stuff here. It's difficult to get any decent shot construction. You're really just whacking the ball backwards and forwards, which is most tennis games, to be fair, isn't it? That was a bit of a silly thing to say, but it seems to take absolutely forever to get any kind of decent angle on any kind of shot, to get anything entertaining going, and you just end up in this stalemate. It's seemingly all the time. It's playable. It's playable, but it's very simple graphically. The sprites are a bit too small for me. The perspective is actually quite nice. It's very easy to pick up and play. It's not a hard tennis game to sort of get to grip with, but that inherent is its problem. Its lack of depth. But it is quite playable, enjoyable for about 10 minutes, and then you get bored quite a lot. And the crowd, well, they look like Lego bricks. Number 9 in the list is 1990s Professional Tennis Simulator, or Simulator Professional de Tennis, as they say on the continent. This had potential. It's got some things going for it. Brought to us by Dynamic and Uline Sign Soft. I said that wrong, didn't I? And of course, this is the Spanish version. No bug. You've got a lot of options here, which is nice. You've got a tournament option there, lots of joystick control options, and some nice transitions. I do like that kind of wipe technique they've used. Very nice graphics. It looks the part, it certainly does, but this is a difficult game to play. Very difficult to sort of like line up your shots in this one. Goose stepping there, crabbing by the opponent, which was a bit odd. The animation's a bit jerky and a bit off, but it is pretty, and I like the way that the sprites are defined. The score is on the board as well. The serving technique is actually pretty good as well with your target there. That's nicked later on for another tennis game, Great Courts, which you'll see later on in this list. But again, it's just a bit too difficult to sort of get. It's not a pick up and play one. You really have to practice hard to sort of like work out your proper angles. The shot construction again is pretty difficult, even though the presentation is rather nice. That's very nice, the sort of like the change court break with the little graphic there. That's animated graphic even, so that's quite nice. Oh, nice down the middle serve there. That weren't bad. Yeah, it's a good looking game. It just could be performed a little bit better because it's just a little bit too difficult. The learning curve is too steep and it's just too tricky to get your shots off. At number 8 we have a very interesting tennis game, International 3D Tennis by Palace Software 1990. This came out on a fair few platforms too. Lovely rendition of the BBC Wimbledon theme, which you've quite clearly realised I've used it as the title music for this very video. But this game, it throws you at first, throws you like a toss for a serve, but then you get used to it and you realise actually it's bloody excellent. It's got a real charm about it. It's not flawless, but there's plenty of options. There's plenty of difficulty. Here we go. Yeah, have you ever seen a tennis game done in vector graphics? Well, you have now. This is it. And I know it doesn't look much. You're gonna probably giggle and smirk, but I tell you what, it's got a real playability about this. It's got this slightly offset isometric view, which kind of works. And I've got this set on novice, so your player, the black player there, the black stick man, he flashes when you're about to hit the ball, and I've just completely missed the ball there. I'll tell you what, the animation is really smooth in this, really quite smooth, and you can move around pretty good. You've got automatic move feature. You can do that. You can turn that off in the higher classes as well. So it's got a lot of tweaking, a lot of options in this game. You've got all the surfaces to choose from, and loads of opponents as well. Loads of difficulty in opponents. So it's a pretty good, pretty expansive game, to be fair. It takes a while to get used to this stickman action. It really does. But I tell you what, once you do, you can really have fun with this. Yeah. I like this one, and I wish I could place it higher, but there are some better games tennis-wise on the Amstrad. So in at number 7, as I talk over this rather snazzy and flashy tune, and a very snazzy and flashy Boris Becker there on the title screen, very nice title screen that. This is Ocean's very own Adidas Championship Tiebreak. Now, I think this one must have missed a fair few people back in its day when it came out, but this is a very, very polished tennis game indeed. Nice music, very nice graphics there on the title screen, of course. And there's a lot of customization here you can do. You can like select the racket and select your trainers even, I believe. I've let this music play a bit, but there we go. We've got the nice little backdrop there. So we're going to quickly buzz through these. And select your racket, 1 of 6 rackets. You can select who you're going to play, select who you're going to play as. Obviously all made up names there. Best of 3, best of 5. Lots of customization here. Again, pretty colourful graphics. And off we go. No rushing around, no messing around in this game. It's rushing straight away. Now, it's a top-down game, as you can see. Minimalistic graphics for sure, but I tell you what, it moves a lot better than Passing Shot does. It's faster, quicker. Obviously, it's in mode 0, so it's got all the colours in there, even though it could do with a little bit more detail. But one thing is a bit weird about it is the fact that you've got not a lot of control over your man. Basically, you move. The computer moves for you. You don't have to move your player around at all. All you've got to be worried about is hitting the right shot at the right time. They've gone for this thing where they're trying to make it hyper realistic to actually construct a shot. So you've got to time your shot by pressing one of the directional buttons. Time your shot perfectly when the ball hits you, and the ball reaches you, should I say? So, but there's no control over your position. You automatically go to where the ball goes, so it's all about timing of the shot. An interesting take on a tennis game, it really is. But it's pretty good. It's a pretty good one. It just maybe a little bit more. The scrolling is actually bloody excellent, to be fair. So yeah, good effort, original, but kind of simplistic after a couple of rounds. Right, so here we are with a bit of a classic actually, Zeppelin's International Tennis. Now this is a bit of a cracker. Not the best, hence its position in the list, and a lot of people are probably going to be upset that this is not higher up on the list. Lots of customization here. Controls, cups, your player's stats, court type, and all that kind of stuff. But very, very simple interface. Nice interface, but very simple. And unfortunately, Mode 1 graphics. Now, whilst this gives a lot of nice detail and very smooth animation, I must admit, the ball flight is extremely smooth on this. It's graphically not amazing, even though everything moves very crisp. I tell you what, the gameplay is pretty good as well. It's you get a lot of good shot construction here with position and shot type. So that animation is pretty amazing. Speed, it picks up a great turn of speed as well. It is a bit difficult. It is a bit difficult to very tricky to sort of master this tennis game. Again, not a pick up and play as such. It's just a shame that the sound could be better. There's no music playing. The sound is quite minimal, and the graphics, unfortunately, are in this sort of like 3-color mode, which kind of gets a little bit monotonous, gets a bit confusing sometimes as well because the players look identical. But that said, the perspective is very good, the movement is excellent, the animation is excellent, the gameplay is actually very good. It's very responsive also. A bit more colour and more sound, and this would have definitely been higher up the charts. So here we are at number 5 with Tennis Cup by Lorsieles, another Lorsieles tennis game. This one graphically is pretty good. Again, limited with the colours, much like the Zeppelin International Tennis that we previously looked at. Limited with the colours, but the graphical detail is very, very good in this. And it only just gets better in a later game, which we'll see later. It's got a nice little tune playing, and there's a fair bit of options available. I like the fact that it has this different colour border. That's an interesting trait that it has. Quite a long loading time here, which hopefully will jump cut this. Yeah, that was about a good 10 seconds of loading time there, which was yeah, that was annoying. Again, very basic menu here, nothing spectacular. You can chain training session and go straight into a cut, but that's really all you can do. You can only do really one-on-one play here, which is a little bit annoying. You can enter your name, and you can also modify your player as well, which is very nice. Very sort of like precise with the points available, with the credits available. And one thing I do like about this game is its use of split screen, and we'll get into that in a minute. We'll just pump up the volume here. I'm using all my credits. There we go. Player 2, well, you just be like that. Nice little intro. Nice little sort of graphical animation there to draw the courts with the net. It's a bit confusing in a way, but here we go. And as you can see, the details on the players are really, really good. Even the far player is very well detailed. It's excellent. Again, but we are talking almost a monochromic colour scheme here. They're even using up a colour on the border now, thinking about it. But you've got on-screen flashes of the score as well. You've got pretty good sound effects as well. You've got a crowd cheer in there. I think the only thing that really annoys me about this is occasionally the player movement is a little bit jerky, and the frame rate could be a little bit better, but the animation is still pretty good. Maybe the frames up a bit could improve that. Moving around the court is very easy. It's a very easy game to get into. You can get into this game pretty quickly, but to master it, it takes time. I'm playing a bit of an easy player here, it seems, but you can position your serve well and yeah, get some good shots off. Directional is very responsive, and it's an excellent tennis game. It just, again, could have done with a little bit more colour and a little bit more pizzazz and presentation, maybe a few more options. Maybe it has a sequel that does all these? So here we go with a very well-known tennis game, Ubisoft's very own pro tennis store, aka Great Courts, sometimes known as Jimmy Connor's Great Courts on certain platforms, by Blue Byte. Yes, 1989 this, and it's a decent tennis game. This chunky menu. Wow, that tune's quite nice. It's the tune I'm obviously using for the intro sequences, the segues between games here. Entering your name here is extremely difficult because the numbers seem to turn over really, really quickly on the joystick, so I'm not even going to bother there. I'm going to go straight into the Australian Open. Minimalistic, no optimization here. It's just straight into the game. You can name your player, and that's it. Just straight into the game, and off we go. And we have got a brash load of colour going on here. Loads of vivid colours, plenty of action. Really good perspective as well. The speed is excellent, really good. It's a fast game. This is probably the fastest tennis game on the CPC itself. The player at the top there a little bit stunted, more like looks like a Lego man. But the detail on the player below, your control player, very good. Animation's pretty good as well. The movement is excellent, and this game It's very addictive because it uses a very positional based tennis system. So your shot is completely different every time you position yourself on the court. And you have to get used to that. It takes time to adjust to that. You can pick up and play, but you do things like that. Just spin the ball out into the middle of nowhere and hit some geezer on the head in the crowd. You've got crowd interaction there. You've even got the umpire's head moving. I love the level of detail here. It's a little bit blocky in places, but I really do like the level of detail that goes into this game. And again, the score flashes up in the background there and on screen. Very nice presentation in game. It's got pretty good music, pretty good sound effects as well, and that nice little tune at the beginning as well. Again, could be improved, and it may well be improved. So it looks like John McEnroe was been on the blue hot wash there, going by the title screen of this tennis simulator, Pro Tennis Simulator by Codemasters, another Pro Tennis Simulator. Good old Codemasters. A lot of people are probably going to moan that I've put this so high up on the list, but I really enjoyed this game. It's got a charm about it that I really admire. I like the offset court. It's a very unique sort of look. It looks like you're having a game of tennis in the garden. There's no crowd going on. It's not in an arena traditionally. You've got little cartoon speech bubbles over. It's very cartoony, and I do like a cartoony tennis game. That kind of appeals to me. The super tennises, the smash tennises, the everybody's tennis kind of thing. I like that cartoony feel that they put into tennis games sometimes, and they really seem to work. This does work. I think this really does work. It can be a little bit easy sometimes. Sometimes you can just trick the computer player into just going for the same serve all the time. On the other hand, on the higher difficulty levels, I've got this on medium difficulty level, so it goes on to lawn court. If you go into easy, it actually changes the court. That's a bit strange. The difficulty level is basically set to what court type you're on. I think hard court is hard, naturally. And is there carpet court in this? I can't remember, but I know that the courts correspond with the difficulty. Again, the score shown in the background. They're full scoreboard too. But ball movement is actually really good. And moving around the court and playing the game. And really easy. Lots of vivid colours, pretty good sound effects as well. Shame it's got no music at the beginning there, but the gameplay is really addictive on this one. You can swing around like a nutter as well, and not completely faff your shot, which is always hilarious. It's got that sort of cartoonish quality to it, which is kind of cute. I like it, and that's why I put it at number 3. Maybe some people would argue we could swap this with Zeppelin International Tennis, but I'll leave that up for you to decide. Now, let's go into the top 2. kind of goes without saying that the top 2 tennis games on the Amstrad was always going to be the 2 on the GX4000 / the Plus machines. And here we have the recreation of Pro Tennis Tour, aka Great Courts, but they've dropped the Great Courts and it's just called Pro Tennis Tour on this. You've got this really nice gold effect here going on using the Plus palette of the GX4000. The fading is a lot better. They've slowed the numbers. Look, they've slowed the text down here. They've slowed it down. They realised it was bloody too fast on the controls before, so they've slowed it down so you can sort of meticulously enter your name very slowly. That tune is playing again. It's even got a title screen as you saw at the beginning, much nicely improved title screen. But again, same format as before, just go straight into the action. But look at the improvement here. This is a bit of an improvement over the original game. You've got a wider court here. You have many more colours going on. You've got the Ubisoft logo in the background. You've still got all the highlights. You've still got the score being presented on the background at the back. You've still got the umpire moving his head around. The detail on the player at the back has been vastly improved. It doesn't look like a Lego man anymore. And the detail on your player, again, using the sprite smoothing, hard sprites, and the Plus palette, things look absolutely wonderful. It could pass borderline as a 16-bit tennis game. It looks so good. It plays identically to the original though, absolutely. There's no change in the gameplay at all. The serve is the same sort of situation. Again, it's all positional based. I would say maybe slightly easier, slightly more refined because the court is wider, but I think the colours are really well defined in this. It looks a very quality tennis game. It really does. Like I say, it can be a bit hard. Some people might not like the position. What a shot that was. Sorry. Some people might not like the fact that it's positional based and it can be tricky to get into, but it's a wonderful tennis game and only really one beats it in my book. And this is the game that beats it, the sequel to Tennis Cup 2, again by Laurciels with this. I love the animation of the panther moving like that. That's wicked. I love it. Look at the fading going on with the credits there, little addition. Again, using the extra graphical power of the GX4000 and the Plus machines. You've got an extended colour palette in this. And lots of extensions to the original game. A lot of people will say that this really isn't a sequel, it's more like a reskin of the original. You could argue that in a lot of points, but I think it's a sequel, and I think it's a sequel because of the fact that the game is extended beyond just the graphicals. It really is. You've got the practice mode, demonstration mode there. Look, you've got all this going on. All full colour now, of course. Everything's in colour. It looks spectacularly. It uses a really nice overscan in places as well. Plenty of options. You can sort of bespoke your player like you could on the original. But when we get into the game, you'll see why I'm selecting this as the top game. I did praise the original game as being really great on the detail for the graphics. I love the perspective and the split screen use. Really good. Look, there you go. These are the extra options you've got. You've got singles exhibition, doubles exhibition, training, tournament, and the Davis Cup, of course. None of these things you had in the original game. None of these things. You've got your skill level sets here. Names. There's so much more to this game than the original. That is why it is truly a sequel for me. The GX... It's an in-depth tennis game. It's an in-depth tennis game. It's all there. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means, and we'll get into that. But I think presentation-wise, I think it's absolutely spectacular. The colours and the definition on the sprites are brilliant. This is fantastic as well. You've got the national anthems being played before another lovely little touch there with the crowd. Very colourful crowd. Very colourful crowd. They're in for a treat. They really are. In this exhibition of Australia versus New Zealand. Oh, them old enemies. So Lucille's, they basically went through the ringer here. They produced a first tennis game which wasn't much cop, and then they produced a very, very good one in Tennis Cup, and then they produced a even better one in Tennis Cup 2 on the GX and the Plus systems. It just utilises many of the facilities of the systems, splitting into the screen there, unlike the drawing before. But now we have full colour. We have an umpire this time. We have full colour. There's so much going on detail-wise on the players here. They really are well detailed, really well drawn. The same perspective is there. The same sound effects are there. That could have improved the sound effects. You've got more colour sort of fading and gradients going on in the background there. But again, this is a real easy to pick up and play tennis game. The only negative, again, much like the original, the only negative I would say is the frame rate is slightly down on the main sprites. It could do with a little bit more frames of animation there. Sometimes the players sort of skip around a bit and it might be a little bit off-putting, but I tell you what, the ball flight is really good. The perspective is excellent. The sense of scale is pretty good as well. It looks, I mean, the still of the image, if you looked at a still image of this game, it looks like a 16-bit. It really does. It looks excellent and it sounds good. You know, it plays really well. It's a pick up and play, but again, it's an easy to play, difficult to master game. You can really get into it once you get your timings right. I love it. I think it's the best game on the Amstrad platforms. Yeah, I do. This and Pro Tennis Tour, the GX version, graphically they're really good and they play really well as well. So, Tennis Cup 2 is the winner and your #1 tennis game. It wins the championship. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Novabug out, I was going to say there, but that would be a very bad tennis pun, wouldn't it?